Hello again, friends. It's Leanne.
And I'm Helaine,
Welcome to Step Into Next.
where we move together from what was to what's next.
Yay.
Oh, okay, great.
Take it away,
Mindy.
Helaine.
Okay, so we have an amazing guest today. Mindy and I have known each other for actual, probably, I don't want to say the word decade because that feels hard.
I like the word decade for
Yeah, I like
us.
the word
Yeah.
decade. Okay, it's been a long time. We deeply bonded during COVID in Miami together. And you are just one of the most sparkly people I know, despite some crazy shit that's gone on in your life. And we are very excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
And we did not mean to do this, but we are all, for those of you listening and not watching, we are color coordinated with like a black and pink. Each one of us is wearing a black and pink version. So I
Yeah,
love
we
that.
nailed it.
It's meant to
For
be.
you, Mindy.
Yeah, thank you. It's very on brand.
Yes. Well, to that end, would you mind starting off? Tell us about your life journey.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with I am a Scorpio, number one.
Love Scorpio and long walks on the beach with them.
Yes. And I grew up in Michigan, so I do
Go
have,
blue.
yes, go blue, and green because my family's a mix.
Oh.
So don't be mad.
Okay.
But
Tough.
yeah, so I still have my like Midwest roots. I've been in New York for a little over 10 years, so I have like a little New York edge. I think I'm like a hybrid model.
Okay. A hybrid model.
Yes, and let's see. So work-wise, I'll give you just a quick snapshot without a resume. But I started off with a really corporate background with Ford and Nissan, and then I do have some entrepreneurial family members. So I grew up kind of debating between like, do I want a very stable corporate, strong 401k, or do I want the adventure and the excitement and building and all the things? So after a bit of time in corporate America, I decided to jump off a bit and do my own thing. So few years in between that with Microsoft. And then I started a VR AR company back when the hype of VR was similar to AI. And then ended up selling that to a company called Media Mint, which is where I am now by day. So,
But you're ahead of the
yes.
curve on this VR AR stuff. Like,
Thank you.
you
Thanks for
very
noticing.
cool, very trendy. You were like, what is she doing? And I am actually still not sure what it was.
Likewise.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually a lot of it, like a lot of my whole path is I kind of go after the what ifs because I don't want to wonder. So in that case, I had just seen a lot of my clients at the time were asking about it, and I was at Microsoft and we didn't have a product that was exactly relevant to what they were looking for. So when I jumped off, I did a couple months of travel, which I had never really done. So I guess it was like a mini sabbatical. So I went to South Africa and Australia, and I just like cleared my mind. And all the while I was actually interviewing with a few other Microsoft types. And my instinct while I was doing the interviews and answering the questions the way I thought I should, the voice was a lot louder when I was traveling. And it was like, don't do this. Like, hopefully I could always go back to it. But now that my mind was a little bit more open, I was, I think, a little riskier. And I had started doing research and just thought, I'm going to do this thing for 1 year. And I had like enough runway. And then if it didn't work, I'd go back to what I was doing.
Yep.
And I would never wonder. So it was, to me, it wasn't like failure. If it failed, like that would be terrible, but it would be okay. But if I went back to my usual job, in the back of my mind, I'd always wonder, that would be worse. I couldn't get to that.
Could not agree with you more. It was like, I will regret not trying this.
Yeah. Was that how you?
Absolutely.
Were in the
I was like,
beginning?
if I don't
Yeah.
do it, it'll haunt me on my deathbed.
Yeah, definitely.
But okay, but I want to double click on something.
Yes,
I actually
please
hate
do.
corporate speak, but I'll say that one. It sounds like that was the first time, maybe, or maybe not, that you really you cleared your head and dialed into your intuition. And I love that. I think that is powerful. Is that accurate to say it's the first time?
Yeah. I think before I was just wired and conditioned to be more of a planner. So I would be like, okay, my next 2 years should be this. And I would write these action plans. And it's not really, especially now, so much has opened up since I've listened to that I think I was just so busy and on this path I thought I should be on that it wasn't till I broke away from that a bit that I was like open to exploring more.
Cool.
Love that.
Yeah, love it too. Okay.
Okay, so VR, AR,
Yeah.
ahead of the curve. You're listening to your intuition. You're trying it for a year. You got a 1-year runway.
Yes.
And you just like,
Crushed
you heard
it.
about it from your, well, I mean, I like the notion. I want to actually just make sure that like people aren't just like jumping into something random without thinking it through. But you had been listening to your clients for years. They wanted something, it didn't exist. You were like, I think I could build that.
Yeah. And actually, one of the best pieces of advice I can give is I went to a conference, out of pocket. It's Cannes Lion, which is where like
Heard of it.
Yes, go on down. The highest level people, and I went one time before, and so I saw that's where everyone is. And I was like, I don't think I want to be like spending to do that. I had just decided that I was gonna potentially start it. So the final reason I started it is I went out there. I stayed somewhere kind of like off the beaten track, but it was close enough to where I needed to be. I didn't buy a pass, but I was like scrappy and I was, made myself available at all the right places. And so some of my clients were there and I had asked them like, if this existed, would you be interested? Yes or no? And so enough of them said yes that I decided to do it. So I would also just go to conferences and just listen in. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, it was an open space. So people that said they were experts, it was still brand new. So I could jump in and like analyze it in my own way and then become sort of an expert with a POV. So
you assessed demand and you were like, I could do this.
Yeah.
And then you jumped right in.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
We love it. We love it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your support. Yeah.
Awesome. And so you did this and I mean, spoiler alert, it was successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the first few months, I was like, what am I doing? How am I doing it? It was like lean enough that I hate the word pivot. What's a better word?
No, I think it still works.
You could evolve.
Dink and move. Is that like, that's like a sports term, I think? I don't know. Anyway.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Any of those things, any of the above. But yeah, I also like listened a lot. I didn't like jump in and say like, this is the offering. I had what I thought it would be. And then like 1 week after the next would be another update or more technology or more. So a lot of it was something that I started initially had just like morphed into something else. And then I stuck with it when it stuck.
When you found the product market fit.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you at that before, you found a home for it?
Almost 2 years.
Oh my God, so
That's
not that long.
Yeah, that's a very short. Wow.
Can you give us like just the quick 2 seconds on that exit? Because we just had an amazing guest, Carrie Kirpin, on talking about, the exit whisperer she is.
Yes.
And so it's a little top of mind.
Yep.
Yeah. So initially the plan was to just stay on for a few years. And then once I had,
because typically, just for everyone listening, often when you sell a company as the founder or, kind of the executive team are required to stay on as part of the deal.
Yes, exactly.
But how did you find these people?
So it's very fateful. This is like a crazy story. I ended up meeting through a friend. I met someone who told me, if you really want this company to be successful, you need to move out to San Francisco. And I was like, I do.
Pass.
Like, yeah, hard pass, but why? And a lot of it made sense. Well, for that market, especially for VR at the time, everyone was there and I said, can I just travel there a lot? He said, no, you need to like have a footprint here. So socially, I did not want to go, no offense. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to make the sacrifice and go. And this person was like, I'm going to guide you. They were at a really great company, bring you in. We're going to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, done. I did all my diligence before I went to say like, how are we doing this? If I'm really going, I got there and it wasn't like I thought it would be at all. So it was an overpromise and I was like, get me back to New York. So I gave it 3 months and I gave it like my all and it was not happening, not for me. And I ended up the day before I left reconnecting with some people and that led to more introductions that led to this. So like when you talk about fateful, for a while, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. And I was like, this is like 3 months, I'll never get back. And a lot of my clients were in New York and I wasn't here. And I was like, why would this be? And then fatefully, again, the day before I left, I reconnected, met someone. They said, stay here another week, stay here 2 weeks, and let's have these meetings. We had one final meeting in New York and it happened.
Wow.
But it was literally the day before I was leaving.
Synchronicities.
Yeah.
Babe.
So like, that's the reason why I went there, which I thought was like some form of adversity because it didn't pan out the way I
San
thought.
Francisco has been heard to be quite the adversity for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is very telling how it's like sometimes when you think something is the worst thing that could happen or something really terrible,
Yeah.
there is a silver lining
Yeah.
in there or a lesson or a, I know this is my,
I don't know. Speaking of crazy, horrible things. So what happened next, Mindy?
Well, actually, this is the perfect segue because it's in this chronological order. So, about 6 months after the acquisition, I'm standing in a WeWork, and I had just gotten some proactive tests. I think I mentioned this before, but I went to the dermatologist, got a mole checked, and then went to some other doctors and was just kind of going through and ended up getting a proactive mammogram. And it was just before Thanksgiving. And I ended up going through getting another follow-up test after that. So it's kind of brewing. And I'm thinking like, I have no family history. I didn't have traditional symptoms. I didn't have any lumps. Like, I'm sure it's fine.
and you literally just decided to get this testing because it was available, not for any out, like you said, no outward symptoms, nothing.
Yeah. My doctor had said, if you wanted to get a proactive one, you can. And I was going down these lists of tests and it was just feeling good. Like I was checking them off my list.
Intuition.
Yeah. And I thought, well, I'm just going to do this and I won't have to worry about it. And so I end up getting another test. And this is just before the holidays. This was like the final test to rule everything out. And I'm standing in the WeWork and I get a call, and so much for the delivery, but they were like, listen, you have it. You have breast cancer. We don't know the stage yet. And we don't know if you'll be able to keep anything. And all the doctors are going on holiday. So we'll talk to you in the new year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to put that medical practice in the show notes so everyone avoids them.
Yes.
That's horrific.
Yes. It was the ultimate test in mindset, to be fair. So first of all, in the moment I was like, you have to be kidding. Like this is
Am I
like
being punked?
Yeah. Am I being punked? Actually, great show, by the way. I love that show.
Bring it back, Ashton.
Yeah. I wish it was a punked, but it was not. And I was just in a bit of like shock. Like, are we sure? Because again, no family history, no symptoms. Like what?
You're also like, I'm being conscientious and getting these things done.
Right.
Please reward
Yeah.
the universe.
Yes. And also, how far along is this? And so I actually had a friend's trip planned, and my family was like, are we sure you don't want to come home? And I felt bad, but I was like, actually, I want my normal. Like if I go home, we're going to all be sad and Googling. My friends are very supportive, but I also just want to like have fun. I won't know the news. So it's my choice if I'm going to like sit in it and dwell on it, not be in denial of it, or I'm just going to
have a margarita
or 5, or maybe not, because I don't know what's going on in there. So I kept it classy, and I kept it healthy. But I had fun, and, we talked about it when I felt the need, but it wasn't like the only thing. But I learned this through the whole process. I've have some hacks I'm happy to share later too, of just how to ease my mind when I'm waiting on decisions and big news like that.
Tell us, because I can't think of a more appropriate time to lean on those tools than when you're sitting there not knowing how bad the cancer diagnosis is, but going on a girls trip.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the exact moment to lean on some tools.
Yeah.
So what are the Mindy secret? What's the Mindy secret sauce?
Well, how much time do we have?
20 minutes.
Okay. I'll make this quick.
Or less.
And succinct. So, okay. But you might think it's weird, and I think it's a little weird, but it actually works.
Weird work.
Okay. And I actually gave this advice to a friend of mine yesterday about something else. And he said it works, so we'll try. But anyway, so I used this, and I used it early on, but then I used it when I was waiting to hear good or bad news. So similarly, later on in the process of my experience, I ended up having to wait to find out if I needed more treatment or not. So just to set the stage. Okay. So basically, what I do is I think of something crazy and amazing and weird that I'm going to do when I get the good news. So in that moment, I thought, when I get the good news that I'm early stage, or later on, when I get the good news that I don't need more treatment, that I'm going to kiss the ground of wherever I am in that moment.
I love that.
And maybe I'll cheat and like put my hand, if I'm like back then, maybe on the subway, I'll put my hand down and I'd kiss my hand. But if I'm like in my apartment and it's clean, I'll look at that spot and be like, I'm going to kiss that spot, or I'm going to like cheers and have a drink. And it's a visualization that I will think of, like, I'm going to cheers with you guys when I get the good news. I'm going to call you. So it doesn't have to be like kiss the ground where you are. It's a little risky.
Yeah.
But whatever you want it to be, you are just visualizing that moment. Let's just make it cheers so it's less weird. You cheers, right? So in the moment I'm waiting, or the phone's ringing and I'm like, is it Sloan Kettering? Is it, I'll be like, or 5 more days left till I'll know. I will think of that cheers moment and I'll visualize it. And it kind of breaks the thought of like,
Totally.
Do I have it? Do I not? How far along? It's
It
not
breaks
perfect,
it
but
breaks the rumination, I'm sure.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
obsession and the negative. Yeah.
Exactly.
Love that.
So it's
Oh,
good if
that's a
it's
good one.
like, dramatic, or it's good if it's like a cute moment. So it's optional.
I like that. That's a
Okay.
great
I
visual.
made it up.
So all of this happened. You get diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes.
Tell us how you've made it into your, this, like you said, this really challenging, almost, horrific experience in diagnosis. You made it into a movement, a positive movement to help millions
Yeah.
of women. So how'd you do that? And tell us about that.
Okay, you guys are gonna love this story. So yes, early on, I ended up, when I got the news, I caught it early. So because
Cheers.
yeah, because of that, I didn't need chemo or radiation, so I needed to have a double mastectomy, and it landed on Valentine's Day, which was especially lovely.
Lovely.
Yeah. So once I had that, I started first I was a little bit private about it because I wanted to know the plan. And I think this can help people in anything they're going through. But if you share something like, oh, this is about to happen, and you don't have updates, and people are caring, which is so nice, and they want to reach out, but then it's a constant reminder. And if you don't have an update, it's just like always there. So I sort of, at the beginning, I didn't tell a lot of people. And then all of a sudden, when I understood the magnitude of it, I felt like I want to get back to myself and overshare. And or share a little bit, lightly overshare. And so I started doing things that felt more like me. So I did a going away party for the girls, and we like casted them. And then when people would come over to visit, they would sign the cast. And then I did a breast advisory committee, which was like, who do I know in healthcare? Because I'm not from New York. So I want to I need to know the best doctors. What should I do? What should I not do? So I started doing these things. And then I actually felt more like myself again. And all the while, I had posted just these few things. And a friend of mine, his name's Tom Kubik. He's like an amazing photographer. He reached out. He's so nice. And he said, can I gift you a photo shoot? And I was like, oh my God, that is the nicest thing ever, but definitely not. I couldn't even look in the mirror at the time, to be fair. Because double mastectomy is no joke. It is like, it's a lot. It's very painful. And then once some time has passed, you can start, healing, but the scars are also, they're hard to look at in the mirror. It's like, it takes getting used to. So this is the time that he had offered the photo shoot. So I was like, thanks, but no thanks for now. Well, it was always just a thanks for no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. So fast forward, I'm going through it, and I'm having these interesting moments too, where even like one time a nurse had been really emotional, and I was telling her how I was about to get my double mastectomy, and she was tearing up, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be okay because I caught it early, but thank you so much." And she said, "Actually, I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm supposed to get another mammogram. I got a call back a few months ago, and I'm too scared to go."
Oh God, I got chills again.
And I was like,
Oh my
"Listen, I'm getting my double mastectomy in 2 days on Valentine's Day. Can we make a pact that you make your appointment before then?" And I said, "What are you, afraid of?" And she said, "I mean, I know what you're afraid of, but what's like scares you the most?" And she said, "I'm just worried about being alone." And she's married, and I guess that's just an assumption, but I'm like, but I was like, "Listen, people will rally around you if you share and everything." And so there were these moments like that through it that were showing me that like maybe I'm supposed to do something with this,
Yeah.
And so anyway, fast forward, I start healing. It takes about a year, the whole process. And I'm at the halfway point, and I'm talking to my sister, and I'm like, I think I want to like commemorate this thing. And so I think back to Tom, and I'm like, maybe I do this photo shoot. And we're debating. I'm like, it's either cool or creepy. Like, I don't know. What am I wearing, not wearing? What are we doing? And so I called him, and we talked, and he's like, just, show up and bring whatever. So I end up doing the photo shoot, and I was going to show no one. And then a few of the pictures, I started showing just a few friends. And all of a sudden, and my mom, I had shown her, and she was crying, and she's like, "This belongs on a billboard." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." We have a laugh. And then, or I just think like, definitely not. So then fast forward.
Can you describe the photo?
Yes. Okay. So now I call it tastefully topless because it's hard to explain if you don't see it. But I used to wear this like pantsuit with suspenders, and I brought it. I just packed it along with a bunch of other stuff for the photo shoot. And so what started off is almost like a therapy session, because he was really good with like, how did you feel when you first got the news? And no one will ever see those pictures. And then toward the end, it was just very like liberating. And so what I ended up wearing was basically what looks like, it's just suspenders and my scars. But the picture is very feminine, because for me as like a marketer, and as a breast cancer survivor, I would always see images of much older women, and they're with their families, and a lot of it is fear-based. And so it doesn't inspire you to get tested. And I think because these pictures, when I started showing a few girlfriends first, and then a few girlfriends specifically, would be like, "Oh my God," and I'm not looking for like, "You're so brave." I'm looking for like, "Oh my God, I just made my appointment," because you look like yourself a little different, in that specific area. But like, and that's how it was back then. So things still get better, but the reaction was that people were doing something. And so I ended up deciding at the beginning, right when I got better, I didn't want to actually like over identify with it. I moved on. I wanted to make up for lost time. I didn't talk about it much. And then all of a sudden, people would tell me like, "Oh, my friend just got diagnosed. I saw it." And I'd be like, "Send them to me." And I would talk to people, and it would be like a little, like, I say Tina Robbins, like not overly cheerleader positive, but I just found I could like change someone's mindset to either like, if they're scared, I could give them some hacks, or just listen, being on the other side of it. So all of a sudden I was like, I think I want to maybe give back more. And it was almost Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is when all the visibility, that 1 month in October. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this picture and I post it on Instagram, and I'm going to say like, "Ladies, post your mammogram dates." And then underneath it's just like, "I caught mine early." And I was like, the night before, I was sick about it, because a lot of my clients are older men in my day job. But I was like, that's fine. I'm just going to do it. And all of a sudden it worked. And so all these women were posting.
It worked.
And
It went
and that was-
insanely viral.
So
Indeed.
it's the movement, the Million
Yeah.
Mammogram Challenge.
yes. So the Million Mammogram Challenge was basically just bringing to life this post.
Yeah.
That's all it really was, because I saw it work. And so fast forward, a few months later, I went to a conference, CES, for work, and ended up connecting with an out-of-home company called Outfront. And met their head of creative just through a friend. We were just all chatting, and we ended up coming up with the idea of putting that image on the billboard and keep it really simple. And we didn't know if it would get approved. So basically, it gets approved with
Who's approving these things?
Well, so the MTA was one of them.
Oh shit!
So it was on
that
the subway.
photo got approved by the MTA.
Well, it did, yes, but we had to
We're gonna link to it in the show notes.
We definitely will.
It's iconic.
Okay, but wait. So outside of all that, so this movement has started and it is now has a life of its own, right?
Yes.
So I'm just so curious to know, you're also in the middle of this very high-powered job you've gotten acquired. Tell us a little bit about, you don't have to, whatever you want to share about like the balance between that vulnerability that you talked about because you have all these older white male clients, and sharing that personal side of you while working this very intense day job, while building this movement now, which you're continuing to do all these years later. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that, bringing it all together in that.
Sure. Yeah, it's actually, sometimes it's a bit challenging, but the majority of the time it's a really nice intersection because my company, so Medium's been really supportive in this, and my clients have been as well. So what I mean by that is I find, people want to work with people that I think the age old is like, you want to work with people you like, sure.
Of course.
But when you share and people like understand that side, even people that I didn't know that well, when I show them this and there's some sort of tie to whether it's breast cancer, cancer in general, health, like people just become a lot more human. And so on that level, that's been really amazing to see. And then the next level of that is people are actually have like tangible ways to help. So some of my clients have given media for this. So an example, like Financial Times, year round in print, we get ads and then I see an uptick of people who have signed up.
So the vulnerability really paid off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And how do you, what would your advice be to someone that wants to put themselves out there in a personal way because women are often penalized for that, I think, too, particularly women, men probably too. But what would your advice be for that balance of the appropriate amount of vulnerability?
Yeah. Well, I think also you could turn it off and turn it on. So when I mentioned earlier, like identifying with it, if someone asks about it, I'll talk about it. If I need to be like deadpan and or talking about AI, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to make it like my only thing. So I think the beauty is I can weave in and out of like the feminine side and the oversharing, and I know when to not. And even, in some cases, work-wise, some people have just seen it and they'll reach out, which is great. And then come to find out we end up working together. And then sometimes there's certain environments where I just would never bring it up. And so I think it's just like understanding, like reading the room.
Using your intuition.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yours is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, yours is highly honed. I mean, I am curious about one other thing too, again, because this is a movement that you've built and there's virality to it. There's your input, but you didn't start a nonprofit. And I think I work for both nonprofits and for-profit companies. I work for for-profit companies that have impact arms. So I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on impact in corporate America versus starting a nonprofit. Have you wanted to start a nonprofit?
I really thought about it. I love nonprofits, but I love the flexibility that I can work with anyone. So I can work with one breast cancer organization. I can work with another one. I can try something, do something different. I can speak somewhere. And I think I definitely gave it a lot of thought. And I did a lot of thinking and analyzing internally to be like, am I a nonprofit person? And I think I like the movement angle because also so many of them have built such amazing organizations already. And I just would rather collaborate than get into that space. And I also, for me right now, and it is a lot, but I do love the double life. I love that I'm in tech and I can use that side of my brain, and then I can stop by and do some Million Mammogram stuff, but I'm not. And also with breast cancer, like, I don't know that I want to think about it every minute of every day.
That's a great point.
You know?
Yeah,
So,
you have to know
yeah.
yourself to be
Yeah.
able to say, okay, I know there's a huge part of me that I can give to this and make a huge impact. And I want to give you time to actually talk a little bit more about what the movement is and how people can get involved. But at the same time, like, to know your own boundaries and limits, to be like, listen, the best of me is 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
If I gave this 100 hours a week, I would burn out. It's not all of who I am. And so I actually completely respect not only that self-awareness, but also that just the understanding of, you know, the best place for you in your time to have the biggest impact.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, because it's also a mix of like skill set and personality. So like personality, what I want to bring to this is I want to lighten it. Obviously part of it was like femininity and beauty and healing and not this sad, scary fear base. But the other side is I started this thing called Mimosas, where it's like a Calendly function on the site where like just grab a friend, grab a mammogram, and a mimosa after, hopefully after, not before. But like,
But are there any downsides to having it before? Asking for a friend.
Well,
no, seriously.
Friend,
okay.
Tell that friend. I don't know that you like should have alcohol in the system.
Should we verify that maybe in the show notes?
Check that.
Okay.
Yeah, just in case, because it would lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah.
But my whole thing was like, I always brought a friend, like girlfriends, guy friends. I initially would go alone, like, I'm fine, I can handle this. And then when you're in a waiting room for whatever you're being tested for, a lot of times your mind just goes into like, is it this? Is it that? You put on like what's it called? Not smock,
gown.
scrubs. Yeah, whatever.
Only so much visualizing of kissing the floor one can do, right?
Yes, exactly. So anyway, yeah, I always brought a friend. And then it was like a thing. It was like a to-do, like we could grab a coffee before and it just wasn't so heavy.
Yeah.
So like that's more like my personality. I want to, you know, bring to this differently. And then one other avenue was like, you know, even when you're going through any sort of health issue and you are dating, like no one talks about when to tell someone the news. Or for me at the time, I was dating lightly, and I did a podcast interview with a couple guy friends who had testicular cancer, and we had this hilarious dialogue. I mean, it was real, it was emotional as well, but it wasn't so heavy. It was like, well, when do you tell a girl that you don't have, you know? And they were like, well, what do you mean? Girls don't notice. And I was like, yes, we do. And like, and, you know, the other thing is like, what for me, when I would tell someone, I would wait, you know, for like a certain time. I didn't want to lead with it, but you could really tell if someone could go there with you or not. And so this podcast was so interesting because it doesn't have to be shameful, and there's like a taboo around it. No one talks about what it's like to like go re-enter when you've gone through, you know, something like this, to meet new people and date. And so I just want to bring that to this. And going back to your question, I think that's probably a better strength of mine than to like, you know, run a nonprofit and have the flexibility to do.
It's the movement. It's amazing. And you really, I think throughout this have demonstrated and shown what a powerful movement you've built and how you've done it. Can you tell us kind of before we wrap up all about how people can get involved, like what you're looking for from all of everybody out there, all of us?
Yes. Okay, so two options. First, most important one is just make your mammogram appointment. So whichever doctor you go to, whoever you're comfortable with, that's like
at any age.
At any age. And this is not to scare anyone. If you're in your 20s and you have family history, go get one.
Why
no
not?
question. I think there's two things. One is the fear I hear, and it's real. It's like I don't know what's going to happen, and
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
That's like kind of the shocking thing. And also it's sometimes with insurance, you have to push and advocate for yourself. So if you're in your 20s and you're like, hi, can I get a mammogram? My aunt had it and they're like, well, wait, 10 more years or however long, you might be more apt to say like, okay, you're probably right. But if you just say like, I have family history, I want to get this checked, I need to make an appointment, and you're just
Advocate for yourself.
advocate for yourself.
Huge.
So that's the first option. Second is, Million Mammogram Challenge is a site that I created, and we partnered with ZocDoc. So all you have to do is literally click book now if you don't have a doctor. And it takes you to ZocDoc directly. It's free service, and type in your zip code and your insurance, and you can make an appointment. If you don't have insurance, you can still pay for a mammogram out of pocket. It's a little painful, like around $500 or so,
Good to
but
know.
worth it, I think. And so, yes, so
Social
I'm just as
media,
happy.
all that stuff too.
What is
Social media handles and everything.
Yes. Yeah. So Million Mammogram Challenge. On Instagram, we're Million Mammograms. And yeah, I mean, my biggest ask is just, again, advocate for yourself, make your appointment. Like, instead of the mani-pedi, you skip that, you just go get the mammogram. And it's really just peace of mind. And lastly, like, for people that don't want to know, there's a lot of women I've met through this. Some will DM like, I made my appointment, and some will DM like, it could change my life. I don't think I want to know. And a lot of these women I've met are very like type A, and it's shocking because you would think that they would be like all over it. But catching it early is literally how I am here talking about it without, having to get chemo or radiation. And so I'm just a huge proponent of just like, get it done.
Hugely
Check it out.
supportive of what you've built, your mission, who you are, also just your positive, I like Tina Robbins as a concept because you're not toxically positive, but I really do think that a lot of the, mindset that you either are in or you get yourself into, or maybe force yourself into, is a contributing factor to not only like how you were just aware of what was happening during this time to be able to figure out what the movement was, and also to stay positive, and to be here today. So honestly, thank you so much, Mindie. This was
really
insightful.
appreciate you.
Everyone, get your mammogram. And a friend and a mimosa.
A mammosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A mammosa. Thank you, Mindie.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
so much.
everybody.
Thank you.